Hello everyone, thank you for joining and you are watching MentorED. So, hello everyone, thank you for joining and you are watching Mentored. Mentored is a live weekly show and I am Cheetna Gupta. Today our mentor is Mr. Chinmay Ananda. He is a financial educator and business storyteller. Thank you Mr. Ananda connecting with us and over to you.
Thank you so much, Chetna, for having me and for that brief introduction. So are we good to continue?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now we are living in such an interesting and exciting times because I remember just almost 15 months ago, I was doing all the presentation in front of live audience. And then, of course, we know the COVID happened and we were all forced to adapt and make sure we were delivering whatever we could deliver otherwise in this small window. And I could see who was on the other side, at least by having you virtually online. But here I am, hoping that someone out there is listening and you are watching this particular live session organized by Dutch Uncles. So just out of curiosity, to know if someone is there and you are watching this live, could you quickly type yes in the message or the chat box? I'm not sure on which social media platform you are watching this particular session. Just, I'm curious to know who is out there, who, are you actually listening to this? If yes, quickly type in yes. I understand that there might be a bit of a time lag with regards to the streaming that is happening, because I love to keep any session interactive. So keeping that in mind, let's see if I can really make this interactive and lively. So if you're out there, please participate, type in yes. Probably I'll wait for a few seconds. Okay, I saw someone saying yes. Amish is saying yes. Sapna is saying yes. Okay, great. It's good to know that we actually have a few people. Okay, Naidu sir is saying yes. Great. Now, the topic is finding the entrepreneur in you. The term entrepreneurship, it's kind of used very lightly these days, and each and everyone is saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, or I think I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not sure what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And there is so much of confusion and complication that has happened around this word. But I'm here with my experience and expertise, and most of all, I'm so lucky and fortunate to have had so many mentors and coaches in my last 15 years of my journey as an entrepreneur. And here in this particular short session, I'll be paying forward my learning. And I'm one of those people who would love to keep things simple. I believe in the philosophy of KISS, keeping the information simple and specific. So keeping that in mind, I would love to demystify the things around the word entrepreneurship, around the term entrepreneurship, and hopefully by the end of the session, you can find that entrepreneurial spirit, the skill, the talent that most entrepreneurs have in you as well. Great. So I have got quite a few students now who have just graduated or who are about to graduate, and all they are interested is to get the first job. And they're like, Chinmay, how can I get my first job? What is that I need to say? What are the things I should not be saying to my potential employer? And I've got people who have been working for a while, and they're like, I think it's high time that I change my career. I do something different. Now I want to step into a managerial role. I can't be just an expert in one technical skill. And many a times now they do my program on the subject finance, because when people start stepping into the managerial role, they cannot say that I'm a non-finance person and I am kind of dependent or over-dependent on someone in the finance department to make decisions. And of course, we have got many startups and also businesses who are always looking for client. It doesn't matter if you are a student or if you are a professional who is looking for change in job, or if you are that startup founder or a business owner who would like to get your first client. All we are doing is we are interacting with another fellow human being. And they can be our employers, they can be our customers, our clients. Yes, we have heard business is either B2B or B2C or B2G. But for me, above all, business is H to H, human to human. Whenever we are looking for that job, we are indirectly saying, hey, hire me and pay me salary. Hire me and pay me salary. Or buy my product and service. And what do you think our potential customer or client or employer is thinking? I'm sure if you can put yourself in the shoes of a consumer or a customer or a client or even a potential employer, the one question we'll be asking, we may not ask in front of them, but that is the question that will be running at the back of their head. The question is, why you and not someone else? Why you and not someone else? Or it can be why your product or service and not someone else. Now, again, I would like to ask a question, so I would really encourage you to type in your answer. What do you think when you put yourself in the shoes of this customer or client or a potential employer? What is that one thing that they are expecting? This is that one thing they'll say, I hope this person can bring in that thing to our organization. Or I hope when we buy this product or service, we are going to get this. So what do you think that word is? Again, I'll wait for a few seconds, hoping that someone will answer. I will give you a hint. It starts from the alphabet V, V for victory. So what do you think that, I'll give you another clue, 5-letter word is? Now, Dutch uncles, they have been publishing a lot of informative articles. There are so many things. And I'm sure that most of you are following and you are reading and getting a lot of benefit out of this. And I'm sure that some of you who are attending here, you are also expecting that thing that starts with the alphabet V. Anybody would like to take a guess? Oh boy, Kanan, you got it. Bingo. Exactly. The word is value. So the potential employer is asking, what value will he or she bring into the organization if we hire them? What value am I going to get if I buy the product or service from you? This is non-negotiable. Of course, there are times people might sell something, it may not really have value, but they can't really sell it once again to the same person. As Bob Marley said, you can fool people once or twice, not every single time. So this is one thing that is non-negotiable. And right from our childhood, we are seeking attention. We are getting something in return by showing or giving value to the other person. So the point I'm trying to make here is that entrepreneurial spirit is already there within us. And that is what we are trying to tap into in this particular session. Now, I would like to share a story of this 6 or 8-year-old kid who was living back in 1940s, like mid-1940s in Korea. So he lost his father at a very young age. He had his mother and his younger sister. His mother was doing all kinds of domestic work and somehow was struggling to make ends meet. And he was kind of literally forced to go out and find some kind of a job. At the age of 8, he decided to be that person who will be going from door to door, house to house, and giving newspapers. Now, this was back in mid-1940s. And let's say for all the paper that he distributed, and he was kind of distributing around 50 newspapers early in the morning. And then he used to come back, and the person who was giving him 50 newspapers would give that small commission. So this is what he was doing. He used to go, knock the door, give the newspaper, they pay the money, he struggled for the change, give the change back, and then go to the next house. He realized just by distributing 50 newspapers, I cannot really become rich, nor can I have the money that I always wanted to make to take care of my mother and my younger sister. So he started thinking, what else can I do so that I can double the distribution. From 50, how can I distribute 100 newspapers? An idea struck him. He realized that he was wasting a lot of time exchanging money and giving that exact change. So let us say if the newspaper was, let's say, 75 paisa or 45 paisa. Now this was mid 1940s. And people they were not giving exactly that change. Probably they were giving 50 paisa or 1 rupee. And he was struggling to give change. So next morning, what he did was he took a lot of change, like 5 cents or 5 paisa or 10 paisa, 20 paisa, things like that in his pocket. And he was able to distribute 100 newspapers. He was kind of satisfied for a while, and then he said, how can I again double my distribution? How can I distribute from 100 and increase it to 200 newspapers? Another idea struck him. He said, you know what, the first thing people who are buying the newspaper, what they want is they want to read the news. So what he did on that, from the next day onwards, he went, knocked the door, gave the newspaper. When people were about to pay him, he said, wait, let me distribute all the newspapers. And while coming back, I will collect the money. Because there is no rush when it comes to collecting the money. He will be collecting on the same day. From that day onwards, he was able to distribute 200 newspapers. Still, he was not satisfied. He wanted to again double that number. How can I take that 200 to 400? Another idea struck him. He said, why is that I'm kind of running from one place to another? And this was mid 1940s. Houses were not one next to each other. Pretty much, no, they were far away, and he had to spend a lot of time walking. He rented a cycle, did some quick calculation, and then from that day onwards, he was able to distribute 400 newspapers. Still, he was not satisfied. He said, how can I now distribute 800 newspapers? Another idea struck him. He said, okay, why is it I'm collecting money every day? People are not going to vacate the house. So from that day onwards, what he did was he knocked the door, gave the newspaper. When people were about to pay, he said, wait, I will collect the money at the end of the month. In fact, he is the one who brought in this concept of collecting money from now after giving newspaper or milk and things like that at the end of the month. From that day onwards, he was able to distribute more than 800 newspapers. And again, he was not satisfied. He wanted to distribute more. He called his friends who were distributing around with him and said, from tomorrow onwards, you will be working for me. And this is what we are going to do. You go, you knock the door, you give the newspaper, and we'll collect the money at the end of the month. And he went on to build his own empire. Now, he was still a kid. He was still a teenager by then. And you know how careless most of the time the teenagers can be with money. But he was disciplined because his friend said, why don't you go out there and buy something like a materialistic thing or a toy or whatever it is? And he said, no, I have a dream, and that is to build a ship. A young teenager has had a vision to build a ship. And of course, a day came when he went on to build one of the largest ship manufacturing companies. The person that I'm talking about, his name is Wu Chung. Most of you may not recollect this name, or you may not be familiar with this name, but I'm sure when you see this brand, Daewoo, of course, they were in India and they were selling cars, automobile. Originally, they were a ship manufacturing company. Of course, he went on to become a billionaire, and he had multiple businesses, went through a lot of ups and downs in business as well. And in his book, I believe the title is like All Road Paid in Gold or something like that. Now, he had answered a question when someone asked him about entrepreneurship. What was the driving factor? What really made him that entrepreneur that he had become? And for that, he said, it's about having that vision and making sure that come what may, you don't give up and you achieve it. I'm sure you would have heard these kind of colorful statements and kind of empowering statements and pep talks from a lot of highly successful business owners. But as I said at the beginning of this session, I am here to simplify things and demystify it. So let us understand the word entrepreneurship. Now, The moment we hear the word entrepreneurship, I'm sure you'll all agree with me that there is another word that comes along with it, and that word is called creativity. Now, just to let you know, exactly at 2:30 on the dot, we will be opening up for question and answers. So if you've got any burning question, now you can ask exactly from 2:30 onwards. So let me quickly finish another one or two slides and then give you an overview of what my understanding is about entrepreneurship and keep it simple. So creativity. Now, what is creativity? One of the best definition that I have come across is creativity is seeing things that other people are not able to see. Or in other words, creativity is connecting two things that are distinctly not related, but you somehow relate it. That is creativity. Whenever we tell people, ooh, that was creative, what we are actually telling him or her is, hey, you actually connected this with this. And I didn't see that before, or I haven't seen other person doing it before. That's creativity. This skill, creativity, when it is added with innovation, of course, again, we very loosely use this word innovation. Innovate. Many people have got a lot of definition and their own understanding around this word innovation. Even if you ask Professor Google, you will come up with 100 different definitions. But one of the best definition I have come across innovation is nothing but a change that has value. That's very critical. There are so many ideas that people come up with. I'm sure even we have come up with so many ideas, but the question is it adding value to the consumer or the client or the employer? So innovation is change that has value. Creativity, seeing things that other people are not able to see, connecting things that are completely not related. That's creativity. Innovation is bringing that change, bringing that creativity, not the change that has value. And finally, it is all about not just knowing, it is about doing. It's about execution. This is what really defines an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur is a person who can see things that other people are not able to see and bring in that change that has value, and they execute it irrespective of whatever resources that they have or wherever they are. So these are the people who go out there and they do something. Most of the time, we find a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, oh, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to start this startup. I have this idea and I want to do something with this idea. They are entrepreneurs. Yes, they are creative. Yes, they might come up with innovative ideas, but they may not be able to execute because they always come up with some kind of a reason. Oh, you know what? Here in India, it's challenging. Oh, the government is like this. There is lockdown. There is this. There is that. Now, one of my mentors used to tell me, Chinmay, always remember, in life or in business, either you can have whatever you wanted to have. So either you can achieve your goal or you can come up with an excuse. You cannot have both. So either you go out there, do something, get what you want, or you come up with an excuse. You cannot have both. So an entrepreneur, as I said, is a person who can see things that other people are not able to see, bring that change through an innovative idea that has value, and execute it irrespective of whatever the resources they may have or whatever situation that they are in. Now, let me quickly give you a few examples that you might already be familiar with. I'm sure you can recognize this person. Of course, he looks a lot different, has lost all his hair, but not his money. One of the richest man, Jeff Bezos from Amazon. I was watching one of his old interview, and he said when he was like an investment banker or something, and he used to do a lot of analysis, he saw the number of users on internet was kind of not just doubling, it was like 300, 400% time on time. That made him curious. Creativity. He saw something that others, probably his colleagues or even people around the world, they did not see. They would have seen the same numbers. Yes, number of internet users, the traffic is kind of drastically increasing, But he saw an opportunity around that. He said, can I do something with this? And then he came up with a lot of ideas, and he identified those products that he could sell online to these people on the internet. And he went with, obviously, first selling books, and then he came up with another 5, 10, 20 to the list. Creativity, he saw something that other people were not able to see. He brought in the change for people to buy things online, and definitely it was a great value add. And he went on to go about executing it. Now, I'm not sure how many investors rejected him. I was told it was like more than 70 investors. And for him, the biggest challenge those days was to explain and tell investors what is internet, because they were not even familiar with that term. So he had to explain, and of course, he got a lot of rejection, but still, he was an entrepreneur who went on to execute it. You might be familiar with this particular gentleman, Kunal Shah, who has kind of created record for starting a startup. In the very first idea stage itself, I believe he was able to raise close to 80 crores of funding. Of course, his first business, I believe, free charge or something, which he sold it for billion. He had already proved himself, and he was very active in the investors community. And yes, he went on to go about starting CRED. Again, I was watching one of his video, and he said he's really slow at making decisions when it comes to starting a business. What he said, and I was able to relate to it, he said most of the engineers, the biggest mistake they do is when they have an idea, they immediately start coding and they start developing something. But he said that should be the last thing, because one should spend a lot of time to understand with the product or service that we are going to offer, the end customer, are they going to see value in it? That is when it is worth building something. So yes, CRED, he saw that there's so many people who have got credit cards and they don't know on which day of the month they're supposed to pay, and sometimes there's a small penalty fees, or they're missing some of the points that they could have otherwise earned if they had paid in advance. And the existing system was not that very user friendly. It was not simple. Of course, the banks will send the bank statement. Sometimes even I don't think they understand what it is. How do you expect a layman to understand that? So he saw the problem, and I believe, I might be wrong, but in the interview, that is what he said. I think he's slept on this idea for nearly 1.5 years. He worked on it. He completely scrutinized and looked at it from different perspectives. And then he launched CRED. And today, it's over 2 years, and I believe it's worth like $3 billion. Creativity saw something that other people were not able to see. Innovation, he brought in a change. It has value, so many people are using it. And then he was able to execute it. In spite of the fact it's been almost more than a year, but in lockdown, still the company is getting valued at a higher price. Then yes, some of you would have already again guessed who this gentleman is. A very old photo, Jack Ma, the richest man in China. When he was in US for something and he got exposed to internet, no, he wanted to know what happens if he searches for, let's say, Google, China thing. And when he did it, he was not able to see anything about China. And he went, oh my God, how come we don't have any information on the internet about China? He saw something that other people were not able to see, and he saw an opportunity. He had a vision. He made sure that he is going to do something about it. And of course, he had to kind of literally do a lot of things that he probably didn't even expect, but he went on to execute. And of course, a time came when Alibaba is whatever it is now. Now, I would like to mention one more person. I'm not sure how many of you know her. She is a Bangalorean. Her name is Dr. Madhura Chatrapati, a very good well-wisher and also my mentor. She, along with Kiran Mazumdar from Biocon and other few veteran Rotarians and entrepreneurs back in 1970s. They started Awake and an association for women entrepreneurs. So if you are a woman business owner and an entrepreneur, yes, that is a good place for you to go and interact and share and network. If you want, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to introduce her. Gem of a person who's genuinely interested in giving back. Now, she came across these people who had the skill of making handmade footwear. You might have heard, if you are from South India, it's called as Kolhapuri chappals. I got to know the reason it got the name Kolhapuri chappals is not because it is made in Kolhapur. It is because some king many, many decades ago, he started using it, and that's how the word Kolhapuri. But it is actually done in a place called Athini. So typical Indian village where there is a husband in a small hut, and there's a wife and maybe one or two children, and the husband will go do some kind of a labor job, and in the evening he will get drunk. Absolutely no financial literacy with regards to saving and things like that. If a day is done, okay, let me think about it tomorrow later. So that's the kind of lifestyle most of them have, and the woman in the house was feeling very difficult to feed the children. So she saw behind that challenge, behind the problem, an opportunity. She brought in like 200 of those family together, and she formed a company. All the 200 of them were shareholders in that company, and she said, we are going to make those products because you have got the skill and talent and do it. And we will not sell it in the Indian market. We will sell it outside India. We will export it. And she had a bank, and everyone had to have a bank account, and she brought them into the banking system back in 2000, 2001. Can you believe it? 20 years back, she did that. And of course, people had to adapt. And you can only imagine the kind of resistance people would have had, the kind of they would be so skeptical. Who is this person from city coming and telling us what to do and things like that? And she went through all of those things, and today they are highly successful. They have won a lot of export award from the state government and even from the national government. Some of them have gone to France and other European countries to represent in all this footwear large conferences that happens. Now she has her own business. She does all this kind of ingredients, all the masalas which we find in all this chips like Lays and things like that. So she is having her own venture, but also she played a role of a social entrepreneur. Again, creativity, innovation, execution, and that is the critical thing that one has to have when it comes to execution. And this is where we hear a lot of pep talks and motivation with regards to never say never give up. It is because end of the day, it is up to you as a person who believes in that idea. Do you really have it in you to take that idea to the next stage? So we have less than a minute, so I like to quickly sum up whatever we have discussed. Entrepreneurship, those skills are already in you as children. Now, for example, I have got a niece. Now, my brother's daughter, who is 3.5, she'll be turning 4 this August. If I give this pen to her, what do you think this pen is going to become? It can become anything for her. It can be a pen, it can be a stick, it can be a magic wand, it can be a bat. She can come up with anything with this. That's creativity. So we are all born creative. Yes, unfortunately, because of the education system, we haven't really exercised that part of our skill. But I believe that we can focus. It's like a muscle. Brain is also a muscle. If I want to build muscle, I have to go lift weights. Same thing. If I have to think in a different perspective, then I have to make sure that I put myself out there and start looking things from a different perspective. So creativity, innovation that is where we ask the customers about, do they really see value in this? And then finally, irrespective of whatever resources we have, we go out there and do it. That's entrepreneurship. I hope you found this brief session useful and informative. It's exactly 2:30 on the dot. I would like to hand it over to Chetna to take few questions, and I believe we'll be open for the next, or we'll be live for the next 10 minutes or so to take your questions. So feel free to type in your question. Chetna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Chinmay. That was really inspiring. So now it's time for our Q&A session. So first question I can see is coming from our Facebook Live audience. Hi, I am from Northeast India and have a MSc. Do I need to clear a B school?
Okay, just to quickly repeat what I've heard, because the question kind of popped up and disappeared. So this person is from Assam or Northeast, and he or she, I'm from Northeast India. I have my MSc. Okay, I heard it as MSc, like medium micro scale business. So MSc. Okay, so Masters in Science, and do I need to clear B school? Chetna, do we know the name of this person?
His name is Harsha Malik.
Harsha. Okay, Harsha, thank you for this question. To be honest with you, the short answer is I don't know. Simply because MSc is one thing that you would have learned in a classroom environment. But there are many, many, many other skills that we would have learned outside our education system. Probably if you are part of a social club, or even if you're part of a team where you play sport, you learn a lot of things about never giving up, not the execution part and being creative. And if you're doing some kind of a part-time job or things like, there's so many things you would have otherwise learned. Now, that doesn't mean that you should not go to a B school or upgrade yourself. The more we learn, the more we earn. However, don't approach a B school with mindset saying that only if I have an MBA degree, that is when I'll be successful, or that is when I can start a business. So parallelly try something. Now, usually I encourage startup founders or even someone who has got some kind of an idea, fail often, fail cheap, and fail quickly. See, the one of the critical thing is to fail really cheap. Most of the time, what we do is we wait for that MBA degree, and then we save so much of money, and then we start. We are kind of investing not just the money, but also the time. Let me tell you something, Harsha, in my experience that I have understood from my mentors. The day you realize money in this world is unlimited, however, our time in this world is limited, the way we make decisions will entirely change. So fail fast, fail often, fail cheap. So with whatever you have, no, just take it to the market, see what the market has to say. If they see value in it, yes, do something. Or else, as engineers know, there's a term called TOTE, test, operate, test, exit. Try something else, park it aside, go ahead. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents to your question, Harsha.
The another question is from Shobit Bahuguna. He's mentioning, when can an entrepreneur expect profit?
Oh, you know what? An ideal entrepreneur would love to make profit right from day one. Now, again, when we say profit, what kind of profit are we talking about? Are we talking about gross profit? Are we talking about operating profit? Are we talking about net profit? So let's say we are talking about net profit. So what happens with that net profit? It actually belongs to the owners, the shareholders, the investors. But as we know, and if at all you have some kind of a finance background, we know profit doesn't mean cash. They're completely two different things. So all the profit made in the business cannot be taken out. We can't take out that money and buy a Benz car for ourselves. We have to reinvest in the business. So again, one needs to be very clear at the very beginning. Am I going to run the startup and build the startup having profit as the main prime objective, or at the same time, along with profit, am I also playing a game of valuation? If I'm playing a game where I would like to really value this company and take it to a really great level, then yes, we will be burning a lot of cash. And that's where they call it as what's your cash burn rate. We bring in investors and so on and so forth. So to answer your question, any entrepreneur and or even an investor would love to say, as soon as possible, I would love to see profit.
Okay. Another question is from Mamta Vishwal. She's from Haridwar. She's saying that what type of key activity should an entrepreneur invest time in?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. Mintra or Mantra? Sorry, I didn't get her name. Chetna?
Mamta Brijwal.
Mamta, that's a very good question. Now, let me share something with you that kind of I learned bouncing ideas with my friend. Now, this is one thing that you can start doing. Surround yourself with people who can see more in you than you can see in your own self. Next thing is surround yourself with people who are kind of always learning something, they're doing something, and then every time you meet, you learn something from them. So have few people in your network, and then I have got few book buddies. So every fortnight, now I catch up with them and I say that, hey, I'm reading this book. I would like to give you a summary of this book. You tell me what book you are going to read. Because when as Einstein said, when two minds meet, the third mind is born. So this is one activity definitely I would highly encourage people to do it. In fact, I sometimes love to meet people and become so close if I know that they are voracious reader, and so that I can really pick their brain. The next thing I would like to probably suggest you is come up with the activity. In fact, you can do it right now, Mamta. We are all we all have this to-do list. This is what I will do in the morning. This is what I will do in the afternoon. I would highly recommend you and encourage you to come up with not to-do list. One of the things that I've got on my not to-do list is I will not open my phone or see any messages till the morning 8 o'clock. I will not look at my phone evening during that time. I will not look at TV. So see, most of the distractions are visual. If we can somehow have those activities and bring in some kind of a discipline, oh boy, then yes, there are so many things that will be opening up. So quickly to sum up, surround yourself with people who are kind of learning, who are seeing more things in you. And the next thing is come up with a not to do list. And last thing is be curious. Be curious. Now, one of my mentors used to say, don't see, observe. Don't hear, listen. Don't touch, feel. Because all these highly successful business owners and entrepreneurs, they have observed the pain point that people have. And whenever you hear people or the market saying, oh, I hate this, I hate the solution that is offered to me, behind that there's a solution, there's an opportunity. I'm sure 20, 15 or 10 years back, when we had to book an auto or a taxi after we went to a new city in a railway station, and having that, we had to bargain a hell out of those auto drivers and taxi drivers. Oh, it was frustrating. Someone heard that frustration, saw an opportunity. We have Uber, we have Ola.
So another question we have from Vijay Mehta. He's from Mansari.
It looks like a long question.
Yeah.
MBA from Ivy League colleges provide social proof to crack into the market. It gives you the great set of skills. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, didn't get through Harvard, but made Alibaba. But many other top Fortune 100 company CEOs have a strong MBA background. Nishtala, yes, I completely agree. And no, we can't clearly say that, you know what, you really need to go to a top school to become a highly successful entrepreneur, or you really have to drop out of your business school to become another billionaire. It all depends on your situation, your exposure, your opportunity, and how you want to go about it. In fact, I remember someone shared this story. I don't know whether it's a real life story or it was just made up. One of this so-called Harvard graduate. No, he went to Harvard, educated himself, got top rank or whatever. And then he came to Gujarat or Mumbai somewhere, and he applied for a multi-million-dollar company. So the final round of interview was with the business owner, the main founder, who had hardly passed third or fourth standard. So that's it. He dropped out of school at that age, and he had built this $1 million company. And In the final round of interview, the business owner asked him, imagine in front of you, there is 2,000 rupees on one side and there is 500 rupees on the other side. Which note will you take first? And the Harvard graduate said, obviously the 2,000. He said, you fool. Why are you taking only 2,000? You have got two hands. Why can't you take both? To Harvard hai, main Marwad hu. That is what he said. So it's all about being street smart. You don't, of course, education, I'm not ruling it out. But the question is, what kind of education are we looking at? And one thing that I'm really disappointed with the education system is they have this exam, and what they're essentially trying to tell or approve people is, here is a dumb way for us to tell you that you're really, really smart. You go, you somehow remember whatever you have read last night, you somehow remember and you write it, you answer it. Yes, you have got distinction. Yes, you have got rank. And we think, oh, I'm a genius. That's a dumb way to tell people you're smart and genius. And this is where, unfortunately, many people, they think they're smart, but when it comes to the real life situation, they're not able to adapt and move on.
Okay, so it's time for another question. It is coming from Shobit Bahuguna again. He's saying that how can we judge the companies having growth and we can go for expansion, and which is the best size of business to start with?
Okay, there are two questions that Shobit has asked. How can we judge that the company is having growth and we can go for expansions? Shobit, short answer is financial statements. Finance is the root of how business makes money, and language of business is numbers. So pretty much, if I ask you, Shobit, let's say a cricket game is being played, and I ask you, Shobit, what's happening? Who is winning? How will you know who is winning? Only by looking at the scoreboard. So financial statements is like that scoreboard. Profit and loss statement is like a thermometer. It will tell us the temperature of the business. Balance sheet will tell us the reason why the business has got the temperature. And there is another critical statement with most of the SMEs miss, and that is called as cash flow statement. With profit and loss and balance sheet, both of them, they have a limitation. It will tell us where the money came and where it went, but it will not tell us when it came and when it went. And that is why we need to analyze cash flow statements. So these are the three critical financial statements one has to read and understand and analyze. In fact, you might have heard of Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors the world has seen. And he said when he was in college, in fact, this is the statement he said, when people ask, how come you became an early investor and you're so successful? He said, when I was in college, my friends were reading Playboy magazine and I was reading financial reports. So he was able to judge and see the growing company and accordingly invest. And we can go for expansion. Again, it depends on the company, the kind of team you have, because most of the investors, they don't really invest on an idea as such. They really invest on the team. Because I have been on many business plan competitions, and I'm also part of the angel investors group. What most of the investors, they say is, we are okay to invest in a B grade idea with a A grade team rather than an A grade idea with a B grade team. And me being a numbers guy, all this A grade, B grade doesn't make really sense. I asked them what really defines an A grade or a B grade. And they all said one word: coachable. Are the founders and co-founders coachable? Are they ready to learn, or are they like, oh, I'm a co-founder, I'm really smart? Now, the last question I've asked is, which is the best size of business to start with? Honestly, Shobit, it's a very generic question. However, one thing that I would like to tell you is, more than the industry or the business, see if whatever idea you have, which has got the creativity and innovative thing, which has value, ticks the three box, which is AMR. A stands for, is it achievable? Whatever you're saying, whatever idea you have, is it something that we can really achieve? M stands for measurable. Can you really measure it? Because the only thing we can measure is numbers, like the scoreboard. And what investors would love to say are, is it repeatable? Can I repeat it in the city of Bangalore? Can I repeat it, let's say, in Northeast? Can I repeat it even outside India, in other countries, in other continents? So is it achievable? Is it measurable? Is it repeatable? If those are some of the ticks that you can look into, then I believe somewhere, no, you are in that space where you can really scale the business. What do you, Chetna?
Thank you so much, Chinmay. It was very insightful workshop. Coming up next, we have Ms. Nishchala Agnihotri, who will be speaking on 3x3 content strategy for B2B marketers. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.